What up, dude? What's
How's
going
it going?
on? Hey, man, I'm
Nothing
happy to
much.
have you on, dude. I always talk, always bring up how I found you and like how, or my guests that I have on. But I saw
Right.
you from the tweet. Dude, it made me die. I just mentioned it on like my previous podcast, a recap of Forbidden Kingdom. Your tweet like made me literally bust out laughing. Some lady was talking about at the in the crowd how she felt like they were harvesting her soul or something.
Oh, dude.
Dude, and your
Yeah.
your comment was like, I don't think she'll like my new song, and it was like Soul Eater. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, dude. There was that tweet about Void, and then there was also, did you see the TikTok of that lady? I don't remember if I said it to the tweet about Void or the TikTok of the lady that
it,
was like
it was the
talking
TikTok
about
to the
soul
lady.
harvesting.
It was the
Okay, yeah.
TikTok to the lady because that's what
Yeah.
I saw
Dude,
you from, and I
oh
was
my
cracking
God.
up. That's a
That like
very
I
interesting
so
video.
after that I went through that lady's account and it was just like I was just dying laughing for like I don't know, fucking an hour because it was just all crap like that. Like just she had a list of like every celebrity and politician that like has supposedly been arrested slash executed, and it was like people that are like very much alive, and it was just so funny. But yeah,
Yeah, it's it's just funny. I mean, and then I think if I'm correct at the time, like your Twitter handle was like Soul Eater coming out now, which was so funny.
yeah,
That was the best part
yeah.
of it because it was like totally trolling this lady, which I think is funny. I think that's such a funny part of the internet when you can troll people. There's so much of
Yeah,
it that goes around. It's and then the
like sometimes I'll have like serious discussions with people or try to have serious discussions like online, and my friends will not think that I'm serious, and they'll be like, "Oh, like you're trolling this person." I'm like, "No, like I'm completely dead ass right now," and maybe like you know, I'm not always joking, guys. Like, come on.
yeah, and that's what's funny about like Twitter and stuff like that is you can do either, and like if you play it right, like no one will know, like right, you know what I'm saying?
Right?
Like
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
want to go too far one way of being so much a troll, and you
Right.
don't want to go too far the other way of being like this guy's only talks about serious stuff because then like you get
Right.
boxed in like oh don't take him serious or oh he's just you got to take him serious. He can't make a joke ever. Like you know,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like but it's yeah, it's a very funny thing to see. It's funny to observe it more so. Like I like scrolling through the tweets where people are doing it, and you can like sometimes you can just obviously tell someone's trolling them, and that person is like adamant, like no, that's no, it's supposed to
Right.
be this, and this, and you're like, oh, they got triggered.
Yeah. There are a lot of times like on Twitter where like a lot of deleted tweets. I'll just put it that way. Because like someone will say something and I'll write out like a just a troll response and then I'll just be like, oh man, like this is gonna get the wrong reaction. Like so many like this is not a clear enough troll that so many people are gonna take this
I know
seriously
what
that
you're talking about.
like I'm gonna get canceled on
Yep,
Twitter. It's not gonna go well.
absolutely. I've got a probably a full draft box. I'll put them in the draft, and then I'll be like, and then I'll revisit this later today and I'll think about posting it. You know, you got to do it in like
Yeah.
24 hours. That's you know,
Yeah.
if you comment 3 days later, it's like what are you doing? But like
Most things I don't even toss things in drafts. A lot of times I just delete them, and then like sometimes I'll send stuff to like my partner or like my friends, and I'll be like, "Hey, is this appropriate?" Like yesterday, there's this representative Jim Jordan who's just like an absolute pos, and he looks like a troll, and so I quote tweeted one of his tweets, and I was like, "Jim, you look like a failed abortion." And I was like, oh, maybe that's not something I should tweet. Maybe that's gonna get the wrong message across.
what is Jim? What is it? Jim Jordan?
Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan?
Um,
Someone in
he's a
Texas?
rep. I want to say out of like Connecticut or something like that. But it's just this. Ever since like the Trump era of politics, the Republican Party has just become like a bunch of guys who are trying to say outlandish things. They want to get a rise out of people. More and more. At least that's what I feel like. And so there are all these representatives like Jim Jordan who are just saying things that like I don't even think they believe them. I think they just are like, oh, this is how that guy got elected. So like,
It's a hundred
we'll say
percent.
some crazy shit.
It's 100. It's 100% that. It's that they've noticed the success, and they
Right.
in you know it's interesting to sit back and watch the politics, especially like you said from the Trump era. It's you look at what Donald Trump did. He won, and then he had his core base, which he just constantly put toward, made stuff toward them. It wasn't like
Yeah,
he was
right.
when he when he talked and all that stuff. It wasn't like he was talking to the masses, or even not even the masses of the Republican Party. You could say he talked to those core people that were ride or die, right? And that's what he stuck with. And there's some of those congressional districts and and senators that realized I can get elected that way too. I've looked at the
exactly.
I've looked at the numbers, and there's a big group of people in my area that really like him. And you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna get elected that way. And yeah, I mean, not so much even. I think we're just in that era of politics. People are going to say what they need to say to get elected. It's not even, and it's like more outlandish on the right, but then there are definitely people on the left that will say or do anything to get elected and to appease to the left people. It's just like that era. I mean, and what's funny is like it's been going on, at least in my opinion. It's been going on forever, but it's been very subtle. Like it's not like it's out in our face.
Right.
And now it's just in our face, and you can it's like you just see it happen. And you're like, what are you people really vote? Like me, I try to be someone more in the middle, and I do my best. No one could be full middle. I get it, but like looking at it, I'm like, do these people really get elected? Like on both sides of the aisle? Like what is going on?
Yeah.
Like what is going on?
Like for me, like I'm pretty like far left, like actual political views, but as far as American politics go, like I don't give a shit. They're the same party in my opinion, so like I don't care. And so it's exactly that. It's like, how are you even? How do you have a job? Like it doesn't make any sense to me, because none of these people give a shit about anything. They're just like collecting a paycheck, and it's really mind-boggling. Like, and it ultimately like ties back into what we were talking about earlier about trolling people on Twitter. Which is like
they're the ultimate
so many
trolls.
of these people just want to troll, bro.
They're the ultimate trolls because you it's funny. I thank you for admitting that. You're someone who says I'm on the left. I like the if I have my view, I'm on the left. But they're both bullshit. Like that is such a unique thing to say, because I've talked to so many people on the right and on the left that are like diehard, right? They're diehard each way, but they like refuse to admit that both are bad. And I'm like,
right.
They're literally the same. Like they literally both promise you something and then never come through with it, and they collect their $200K a year, and then they get their lobbyist money. Like
exactly.
Nancy Pelosi makes $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
What the fuck is her net worth $24 million? How is her net worth?
Exactly. Literally,
you could say the same thing about Mitch McConnell. His net worth is $15 million. How, bro?
Exactly.
Explain that to me where it makes sense to me, because it doesn't. It doesn't.
Right. And so
it's ridiculous.
Not to just go off on a ridiculous tangent.
Let's do it.
Like,
cheers to that.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
But the way our country is set up, it's the government's designed to protect the interests of the rich. So when I say left, I mean way further left of Democrats. Like I consider them a right-wing party by most outside of an American scale. In most countries, most Democrats could run as like whatever that country's far right is. Most corporate Dems like Biden types. And so things like the student debt thing that you retweeted earlier for people that haven't seen it.
Yeah, literally earlier today.
It's basically just an infographic of like Biden canceled, I think it was it might have even been $3 billion in student loans. But out of the whole pie of student loans, it's nothing. Like it's inconsequential. And so everyone in the government works under the framework of just protecting the very, very, very wealthy. And so they're both bullshit because they don't care about the worker or the average person, because they have no reason to. Like it's specifically set up so that they don't have to.
I'm going to take it a step further, because I think this is my opinion. I'm always, everyone's different. I think it's,
sure.
I think that it's a side product. I think it's a side product that, let me rephrase this. I think the protecting the rich is a byproduct of the fact that they're really protecting themselves and their own interest more so than anything else. Because if you get into the nitty gritty of like politics, and there's there's an episode of, I don't know if you listen to Joe Rogan podcast occasionally. I like, I'm a big fan, but he has an episode
So,
with
well,
Tulsi. He has
yeah,
my point with this is he has an episode with Tulsi where she kind of, they have a brief moment where they talk about the actual Senate floor. She was on the Senate floor, and she was somebody who would be considered in the middle. She didn't really
mhm,
have a belonging in her party. She didn't really have a belonging in the Republican Party, and she went into like the high school theatrics of it and kind of broke it down on how like it is broken up into these blocks, but at the end of the day, they're going to do things that help them get reelected and keep Washington the way it's going right now, you know?
right,
And
exactly,
then of course that is the byproduct is that they'll accept money from whoever. They'll accept money
right,
from doesn't matter who you are. You're the CCP, we'll take money from you. We'll take money from Nova Scotia. We don't care. As long as
right.
it keeps us in office. I mean, we laugh about it, but we're literally watching the fall of democracy in front of our eyes.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to wrap my brain around. Something like January 6th happening and the Capitol getting stormed.
Yeah.
I don't even know why like. I don't think America can survive under the way the government's currently set up, and I don't think that's very controversial.
It's not.
But at the same time, what happened on January 6th is also unacceptable, obviously, right? And so I don't know what, like, when I start thinking about stuff like that, I'm like, what do I want? Because yeah, it was a bunch of people I don't agree with, but ultimately, like, should I really should I really care? Because these people that they're storming, they don't care about me, you know. But there's something in it where I'm like, yeah, that wasn't, that is not right. That's something I care about, and I can't. Ever since then, I've been trying to put my finger on it, like, what is it that really um really struck my core about that was like, that was so wrong. If I don't I don't care about backing a politician, why should I care if they're safe, type thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then that's part of the other side of the equation. You've got the rich that are donating, but then you also have the lobbyists within the government itself. I mean, everyone we know the military industrial complex is for sure a thing, but I mean,
Right.
they talk about and not in a conspiratorial way, but there is a deep state in a sense because
Sure.
there are these officials that get elected. Not even they don't get elected; they get put in these positions, and there's no time frame. I mean, the CIA director, when he gets to be the
Right.
CIA director, he gets to be that as long as he wants, and then he gets to appoint whoever comes next in line. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and they run a lot more behind the scenes. They know a lot more about intelligence, all this stuff, what programs, what the budgets. They know that way more than the Senate committee or even the
Right.
president, because these people, the president and the Senate, they're cycled out. They're just cycled out, and then they know that. And it's yeah, there's so many issues, and it's like, and then the other side of it again with the lobbyists with big government is that they're always going to say they need more money. There's never a question whether whether you want big government or not. That's a byproduct of the government is that they're going to want more money every year because
Yeah.
that's what gets them jobs. That's that's the reason they'll make something up to keep their job. I mean that's it. We've seen that.
Right.
What is this budget going to? Oh, this one
Well,
science project, and
the
it's not even
military budget
promising.
since World War II has literally just been, we're going to make up issues that we have to fight because World War II restructured our economy to where it has to be built off war and imperialism. And so that's what it's been since, like I said, since the end of World War II has been, we're going to make up this issue that all of a sudden we have to fix it, and we now have to spend 3 trillion a year on the military or
Yeah.
whatever we spend.
World War II I'm fascinated with World War II history. I
Yeah.
always have been, but it is such an interesting observation and look back because when the war ended, we basically were the sole superpower. I mean, Russia was there for a little bit, and they've always been framed as the number one enemy. But
So,
there became a point where our
yeah.
economy and our budget and our ability to just produce stuff was far bigger than Russia's ever could be,
Oh, 100%.
giving us the
So,
ability to be that superpower. And as everything, it's interesting. Go ahead. I want to hear your point though. Sorry.
something that's really interesting about like the USSR, a lot of the reason that it's seen as like this failure is because they wanted to be this power against the U.S., and it was just a very incorrect framing of their economy versus ours. If you look at Russia pre-USSR, pre-Bolshevik Revolution, with the in Tsarist Russia, it's a feudal society, so there's no um, there's no mass wealth, there's no mass resources, and then the USSR comes along, and in my opinion, as someone who, like I said earlier, I'm pretty far on the left. The USSR is ultimately like a net positive for the people in Russia if you compare it to Tsarist Russia. So it's a step forward from where they were at. But because they wanted to be like, we're this other superpower, we look at them like, oh, you guys completely sucked because why were you not as good as the US? Well, the US was already way better off at the beginning of the 1900s. I always think that's really interesting, and I always point that out anytime the USSR comes out, because I think it's really important to look at history through the correct framing of like where economies were actually at when we're talking about like comparing superpowers.
I do agree with that statement. I wouldn't go as far to say Russia's the best example just because of Stalin. He definitely didn't do the correct things of a leader at the time to get them
So
into
there's
those proportions.
I could go in and out all day about things Stalin should have done or shouldn't have done, but generally my opinion on anything that's like a socialist experiment, I guess we could say, is that they're trying something new, and so the mistakes that were made, while I don't agree with them and I don't condone them by any means, and I can definitely critique them, it's hard for me to say, looking back on it, hey, this is how this should have gone, this is how this should have gone. You know,
Yeah,
as someone who like has a similar political view, I think it's something that can definitely should and definitely can be like learned from. But it's hard for me to be like, well, these things other than things like purges, that's obviously
of
completely
course, yeah.
unacceptable.
I get what you were
but
talking about, the framework of government they set in place, not necessarily the people running it and stuff like that.
right,
I get what you mean by that. Yes, absolutely. I get exactly what you were saying. I do. Yeah, and it is interesting to look at. I mean, you could say the same thing about China coming right now. I mean, China at the end of World War II and for the longest time was they didn't have a economy near as ours, modern. Now they do. Now
yeah,
they've got a modern economy and it's caught up and it's, if not expanding more rapidly, all that. I don't know much about it as much as I would like to talk about it, but
sure,
same exact thing, right? And that's why they're now rising to be the potential to become another superpower because
right.
they've got the means to do it now and they're more caught up. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm running a little low, but oh yeah, we started out pretty heavy there. Woo!
Yeah, no, we just dove right into it.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Where was I gonna go with that? I don't think.
I had a train of thought and it's just totally
Yeah, once we took that sip,
gone.
it's gone. We'll
Yeah,
we'll, we'll,
exactly.
we'll go somewhere else. Who cares?
Sure.
Um, what was I gonna say? Woo. This happens occasionally when you have a drink or two during the podcast. It
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Definitely.
what beer is it you're drinking? That's.
Oh, yeah, right. So it's Crawford Bock. It's made by Carbach. It's a brewery in Houston. This is I think in 2017 when the Astros were going to the World Series, they made this. I believe that's when this beer came out.
when you
And
guys
at the
when you
time,
guys
it was only
cheated.
supposed to be, hey, watch it.
Yeah,
Oh shit!
just messing with you.
I accidentally clicked off the Zoom.
No, you're good. It stayed.
Cool. No, but yeah, at the time it was only supposed to be like a seasonal, and then
It did
it's
so
just
well.
it's such a good beer, man. So I'm so glad they kept it. As soon as when it was originally just going to be a seasonal, I was buying so much of it because I was like, dude, this is such a good beer. I don't want it to go away. Like, give me more.
Are you more of a beer guy, liquor guy? Which way do you go? Obviously, you're drinking beer
Beer,
tonight, but
beer now for sure. When I was younger, definitely liquor. But like I had I guess you could say it was a problem with like blackout drinking, where like I would just, yeah, I mean, I guess that is technically a
Yeah,
problem,
it
it's not a
might
good
be.
thing. But I loved Jaeger, and so I would like pound a fucking bottle of Jaeger before going to a show. Not ones that I was playing, but like attending as a fan.
Right.
And so then Freaky Deaky, I think 2018. Um, I had a bottle before going in, and then like I blacked out at like I don't know 3 p.m.
Oh my god,
and
that's
I
so
ended up
early.
blowing like $600 because I was like just buying drinks for other people, just drinking way too much myself, and then after that night, dude, like I've barely touched liquor. Like I still will occasionally, like if it's a like New Year's, for example, or something like that. But after that, I've been like, yeah, maybe I'll just stick to
Yeah,
a beer that I like because that was a little much.
beer is definitely you can kind of like I don't know you can kind of like control it a little bit. Like you can feel like I don't know about you, but for me, beer drunk is like I mean obviously beer drunk is way different than liquor drunk,
Yeah,
but like. For me, when I drink beer, I notice it a lot quicker when I'm starting to get buzzed. Whereas like
yeah,
liquor, it kind of like just it's like I'm like vibing, and it's like boom, all right, here we are, we're here. Like
yeah.
and
So
beer's like a little like
it's like
foams, like it like
the
foams
John
up.
Mulaney bit. I don't know if you've ever listened to John Mulaney, but
I do like comedy,
uh,
but I haven't heard this bit. Go for it. I'm
okay.
in.
Basically, it's like my brain already knows where this is going, so it's gonna black out immediately, and that's how I feel about liquor. Is like I'll get a couple of drinks in me, and my brain's like, oh fuck, well, we know where this is going. Like, okay, we're just gonna shut off now. But beer, you can sip it a little slower. Everything's a little, a little more chill.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I absolutely agree. Now, are you more of a brewery type of guy? You like going to bars or like club person? Obviously, you play clubs, so a little
Yeah,
but biased. But like, if you were going out, which one are you like? I'm going here.
brewery, 100%. Like,
I'm
100%.
with you
I
there,
like
man.
this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I hate going to clubs. I aside from shows that I'm playing, like
It's so
I, it's so
funny.
like because so much of it is just like overpriced alcohol. People that like I don't want to judge anyone, but at the same time, it's a lot of people that are like, I want to Snapchat that I'm at the club, whatever. Like, I like people who are
Yeah.
very into what they're doing, and I also want to be able to talk to people. And I like having good conversation. I don't like, especially when I'm drunk, like hands down. So I love breweries, and I like going to like bars that are more like beer gardens than like bars,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
Beer gardens are like I feel like they like popped up in the last like 2 years. Like we had in our
Yeah,
college town, like they like one of the clubs like out of nowhere just had a beer garden. We're like, and they got vines and like the green turf on the background. You're like, what the fuck's going on? But like, and you're there and you're like, I'm outside. I'm having a
yeah,
drink. Like I'm about the beer garden. But
yeah.
dude, I'm with you there on breweries. I love. I don't know what it is about them. It's like if I could do that every night, I'd be bound about it. Like, and it's
The
like
social aspect is just so much better to me.
yeah, you're just and you're like you're outside. It's nice
Right.
pavement. There's live music maybe. There's some lights above your head. You're sipping on a beer or you don't know what you want and they've got 20 beers and you can get a flight.
Right.
You're like, "Oh, this is great. Like I'm just living life."
And so with things like beer or honestly mostly beer, they're when I get interested in things, I don't necessarily like learning about them because if I do, I become obsessive, like hardcore. That's how I got into like politics so heavily. Is like, oh, well, I'll just read a couple articles here and there, listen to a couple pods of some people that I like, and then before I knew it, it was like, okay, like you're reading political theory for fun because like it's enjoyable. So
Yeah.
like with beer, I still like I've been heavily into breweries and beer for like a few years now. I couldn't tell you shit about beer like at all, but I want to keep it that way. Like I don't want to know anything. I just want to be like, yeah, that one sounds cool.
Yeah, I can get that. I've yeah, I don't dive into beer. I have some friends that know way more than me, but I know enough for like someone who doesn't go to a brewery. They might ask me like, "What do you think?" And I'm
Yeah,
like, "You maybe probably not that one," but like you know what I mean. And then What's crazy to me is like I used to not drink beer at all. I mean, like in college, like I didn't even drink any of the cheap beers. I was not. I still don't like them. I'm not a fan of Natty. I'm not a fan of Bud. I'm not a fan of like I just don't like the cheap beers. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah.
I got into beer because of breweries at drinking
Right.
craft beer. So I'm like, I have this exquisite, $8-10 beer taste, which sucks because like now I won't buy
Right.
beer
Yeah.
unless it's that expensive. But at the same time, I love it because it's like just it tastes better, higher percentage alcohol,
Yep.
and then you get the environment with it. I think that's part of it too. Like I just like the environment of like sipping on a beer and casually, getting buzzed and stuff like that, rather than just like let me just shotgun this and like shove it down
Right.
my throat.
Right.
Which nothing
So
against shotgunning, I get it. I'm horrible at it, so I don't like to do it.
I really like I love a Natty Light. I really do.
Oh
Not so
man,
much
you're
because
killing
like
me.
it's good or anything like that, but it takes me back to like being like
Takes
18 and like that was the only beer I could get someone to buy me. And so it's just a
it
nostalgia
takes me
thing of like,
it takes me
oh, this
back.
is what I got drunk off when I shouldn't have been drinking.
It takes me back. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I can't do them. I can't do it. Even to this day, like the cheapest I'll go is like a Blue Moon or a Shock Top. That's like my
Yeah.
go-to. Like I'm at the bar, I'm like, all right, what do you got? Give me one of those. But
The first beer I ever like really enjoyed, and I think this set off the better taste in beer, I guess I could say. When I was like in 8th grade, I had a Blue Moon, and I was like, dude, this thing is fucking amazing. Like this is so good. And so like for all of most of high school, I was like into Blue Moon, really, and I don't know why, but it was a good beer as a like you know high school kid. But now I can't stand Blue Moon. Like I don't know. Every time I have one, I'm like something about it. It just
that's because you had
rubs
it
me
when you were
wrong.
younger, man. That's
Yeah,
like
I
that's
think
the
that's
thing.
it though.
When you get like when you're young and you have certain liquor or something when you're in high school, you just don't want ever like for me, like I don't want Captain Morgan ever again.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I'm done. I've had it too many times. Too many times in high school. I'm out. I don't ever want it. And then what's the other one? Oh, like Skull vodka and stuff like that you get for
Yeah.
like $10. Like, I don't want nothing to
I
do with
have
that
friends
no
that
more.
like still drink that, and I'm like, dude, literally just like I understood when like we were in like freshman in college and we were making like minimum wage. Like I got it, that's all we could afford. But like we're grown now, dude. Like you make real money, just buy better alcohol,
That's how
bro.
I
Like
feel, dude.
why
That
would
is
you not just spend a little more money?
I'm on like a big whiskey kick, and I used to do Jack Daniels and stuff in college. I don't do that no more. And now I'm buying, uh, like Wild Turkey Red Barrel, like the highest one. I'm buying Buffalo Trace, and I'm just like, whew, I'm loving it. Like it's so much more smoother. It's got a nice crispier taste. Like that's what we're doing tonight. We're doing Wild Turkey, the rare blenders, barrel or
Hell yeah.
something. But oh yeah, it's the move. Yeah, I've been on a big whiskey kick the last like 5 months. I don't know what it is, but I like it. I haven't
I
had
feel
whiskey
like
in
I get
years.
like that sometimes too. Like if I'm ever tired of beer, sometimes I'll just be like, it's never it's always a dark liquor for sure. It's never vodka or tequila.
No, no.
Sometimes I'll get on like a Jaeger kick, and sometimes I'll get on a whiskey kick.
Did you? What are your experiences with tequila, good or bad? Let's start with that because
So
I started I'll do this. My experiences started out very bad, and then now I like am okay with it. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do that. But like when I was young, I
so
was like, I'm not touching that.
I break tequila off in two categories. Being tequila in a margarita and tequila
Facts.
shots.
There's a big difference. There's a big
um,
difference. There's a big
like
difference.
I love a good margarita. I love going to a shitty Mexican restaurant and having a shitty margarita. Like spot on always. And to tie it back into music stuff, so there used to be this event called Share Space, and it would be every Monday in Houston at this place called Last Concert Cafe. And so that's where I got my start DJing. And they had $4 margaritas,
Oh my
and you would drink
gosh.
like three of those things, and you just be fucking just smacked, man. So that tequila drunk off a margarita, like hands down, fantastic. Tequila shots though, dude, I can't do them. Like I'll puke. Like there's no chance.
My group of friends used to buy tequila shots at like the end of the night. Like we'd be
Oh
at the
God.
club in college, and then I would be like handed this tequila shot at like 12:30, 1 a.m. And then every time I would take a sip, and that was the end. That was when I wouldn't drink the rest of the night after that. Whenever they gave me a tequila
Yeah.
shot toward the end of the night, I was like, I would almost puke. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. But I will say the game changer was like a year ago on a work trip. We went out, and all my work coworkers were like, we're doing tequila shots. And I was like, oh. And same thing in my head. I've got this in my head where I'm like, this is going to be horrible. Like, this is just not going to be good. But we did them at the beginning of the night. And put it back. I'm like, that wasn't so bad at all. That was pretty good. Do another one, throw it back, and then you've got this like energetic buzz going where you're like, woo, like let's get, like you're feeling loose. You're like, it's a whole different. You get that shit at the end of the night, you want to die. If you get that at the beginning of the night, you're like, all right, we're gonna have a good night tonight, everybody. We're gonna have a good night tonight. But that's it for me. Like I can't have nothing else in my system if I'm gonna do a tequila shot. It needs to come clean. That's my advice, people, right there. Do it at the beginning of the night.
I think my other issue with tequila is like I don't know what a good tequila is, and so like we have like a margarita machine at the house. My mom loves margaritas as well, and so we'll whip up margaritas all the time. So anytime that like let's say I have like a few friends over or whatever, and they're like, well, let's do some tequila shots. Well, then I'm whipping out a bottle of Hornitos, and that's not really a shooting tequila. You know, that's a good tequila for a margarita, but it's the only damn tequila I know. So we end up shooting that shit, and it's just like does not go down well at all ever. It's a terrible experience every time.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to tequila, you gotta get the more expensive shit. Like you just do. Like, you know what's funny is actually this is pretty recent. One of my better favoriter. That's not even a word. I was about to say that favoriter. One of the ones I like the most was this gold. I usually don't like gold either, but gold 1800. Totally forget the brand off the top of my head now. 1800 tequila.
Yeah,
but it was smooth as could be, and like just like I said, I usually hate gold. Like I've had other gold tequilas, not a fan, but that one was really good. I have to figure it out now. Now I'm at a loss of words which one I had, but it was hit the spot. I had to. So my girlfriend, her family is Lithuanian, and they're Eastern European. So like every family event is a drinking event. They just comes with the territory. So I go over, and they have like this baby shower for one of her brothers. And normally, the guys aren't there, but for some reason this time, I guess some of the guys were there. So the day of, she's like, "Are you coming to the baby shower?" And I'm like, all right, I'm coming to the baby shower. But instead they put all the guys outside. So it was like 8 of us outside, and all the women did their thing inside. So we weren't a part of it. And I sit down, and the first thing they do is boop, they pull out a bottle of tequila, and all they do is just pour shots and pass. And they have one like every 8 to 10 minutes. They just keep pouring them out. And then like the bottle ends, and they just pull out another bottle. And I was like not ready for that day. I hung in somehow, but I literally did like 10 shots of tequila. I was like off my ass. I was just, it's not something that usually happens. I don't even usually talk about this shit, but it was like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Anyways, we're going to segue out of drinking, but
yeah, for sure.
It was a good time. It was a good. I want to know a little bit about you DJing and your creative take on stuff. Obviously, because we have you on for the Producer's Den.
Yeah.
So, but in the light of drinking and other things, do you have any like preset rituals that you do before you go on stage and stuff like that? I always like hearing about those because everyone has something unique they do to get ready to get on.
So mine starts ideally. This doesn't necessarily always happen, but every best set that I have, this is the process I have to go through.
Yeah.
If I have time to do this, this is the key. So I'll smoke. I smoke a little bit, but I usually just smoke to go to bed.
It's funny,
helps me sleep at night,
dude. If I do it at all, it's to knock me out, dude, and I'm out. Anyways, continue.
So 6 hours before I go on, I smoke half a joint. I'll take like a 20-minute nap. Then I'll get to the venue about 4 hours before I go on, have 6 beers, exactly 6, has to be 6. and then bring two more on stage, and like that'll cap off the night. While I'm on stage, I'll finish those two. Um, and that is like, for whatever reason, that's just the perfect zone of like, I'm not like I have good energy, like I'm ready to go, feeling good. That, and then I just like to get a good stretch in, dude. Like, because anyone who's seen me perform, they know. I get pretty fucking wild on stage, so it's pretty important to have
A good
be limbered
stretch.
up. Because otherwise I'm hurting tomorrow, man.
Be limbered up. I like that. That's funny. I gotta get limbered up. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
like like Zombieland. I don't know if you've ever seen Zombieland, but they're about to go down a hill, and it's right at the beginning, and Woody Harrelson's just met up with the other guy. I don't can't remember the actor's name right now, but he puts his gun over his head and he's like doing squats with the gun. And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?" Like, he's like, "Gotta stay limbered up, man."
Gotta stay limbered up. I like that saying. We might have to bring that one back more. That's gotta be said.
Yeah.
um, Tell me about your creative process with some of the songs you've made, because you've got a slew of songs on Spotify. I was listening today. We talked a little bit earlier about Soul Eater.
Yeah.
You have a quarantine song. You have the song "Listen." And in my opinion, when I listen to all them songs, and a bunch more others, I should say, I don't want to keep going, but
Sure.
but you have a slew of songs, and when I was listening, I noticed there was something unique with every one of them. With like "Listen," you've got it where it's got like the whisper, it's like "Listen," and
Yeah.
then the drop comes in, and then you've got hard hitting bass on Soul Eater. And then you had another one. It's gonna bug the shit out of me. That was like one of your tops that I gotta look while we're on real quick so I can
Yeah,
try
for
to
sure.
say it right. Um, that same thing, like heavy, hard hitting bass that like gets you kind of like in my head, gets me pumped up. Gets me
Yeah.
moving. Bring it back. That's what it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That one I'm really that one is like that, and Listen and Hold Up. Like, I've been sitting on since before like COVID even happened, and I've just been like, for no reason. I just just felt like holding on to them. And with a couple with Listen and Hold Up, I regret it, because when I originally posted the clips on Twitter, people were like, "Oh, this is so sick," and then they like, relatively, they both flopped, and I was like, "Damn, like I should have just posted them earlier." But at any rate, um, so I go through like what I feel like are phases of like different processes. So like with what I'm doing right now, I'll write everything aside from the basses in the drop. So all my drum elements, all my background elements. Um, I guess that's really it, other than basses in the drop. Oh, my sub bass, I'll write a flow with a sub, and then I'll go and I'll write the intro, and then I'll write a drop that like fits with that intro. Um, with some of my previous stuff that I'd written before, I was doing a lot of like I would just do sound design for like weeks on end, and then be like, okay, I've made like a pack of sounds. Let's just piece them all together. Um, Before that, I was like starting from just the intro and trying to get a good intro vibe, and then build it all the way up to a drop. And so I feel it's kind of like you're into working out a little bit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah, you know how every few months you should switch up to like kind of confuse your muscles a little bit, and get a new repetitive flow in, and
Okay. I
build
don't
muscle.
really do that too much. Now I know.
Okay, well,
I work out a lot, but I didn't know that one.
I feel like it's kind of the same way with like production. Like every like 6 months or so, I'll switch up, what I'm doing. And like I said, like right now, what I'm mostly doing, and what I'm finding works best is to figure out like a vibe that I want. So Soul Eater originally started as a track called Knife in a Gunfight, and originally the drop was different. And the idea was, hey, one person has a knife, one person has a gun. This is how it sounds. So I did all the drums, uh, did a sub bass flow, and then did all the effects. And then I went back in and I did sound design that would match and like fit in and whatever. And then it ended up being a completely different idea. But I felt like that was a really good way to get a vibe of like what I wanted and what energy I wanted in the track. Whereas like if I'm starting with a bass, because what I started happening was like when I was starting with like just a sound design or a bass noise,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't sound bad. It wouldn't be a bad track, but it wouldn't have like a defining energy behind it. And so now I'm really more focused on like making sure that every track has like this energy behind it, that
Yeah.
I know what the idea is, that's more than just, hey, this is a dubstep drop, you know?
No, I mean absolutely. I mean, and that's also ties into like creating the brand. You know, it's not just the music; it's also the
Right.
brand behind Big Worm and stuff like that, and it all ties in together as well as with the music. It's, yeah, and especially like what you just kind of said, like the heart behind it, or like, I'm not exactly sure how you just worded it.
Vibe,
The
energy,
vibe, energy was what you
any
said.
word.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. But like people can feel that. Like it's not like bullshit that people can't feel that. Like
Right.
people can sense that if it's genuine or if it's not. Like at least in my head, I can. Like you can tell when people truly like what they're doing and they're up there like giving it their all. Like to me,
For
like I
sure.
feel like at least it's my mean. And again, you could read people wrong, but like for me, like when I see like Elenium on the stage or Seven Lions on the stage, like they're two guys that are one of my tops and one of my favorite all time, and
Mhm.
they really look like they are just giving it their all and like they like what they're doing up there, you know?
Right.
And that's so important. And even just in the songs, some of the songs you feel like you can feel the person's vibe and hard work put into it. You know, it's interesting to like, and I'm sure every artist does that, but like for some, I just feel
Yeah.
like it stands out more than others. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah,
important for that
definitely.
because like I think with anything people do, not just with making music or working out or doing a podcast, like there's you could tell when someone is like, I like this, like I'm on about it,
Right.
and you know they get into it and they want to talk about it and do it all day long and like yada yada. So it's exciting to see that in people. At least for me, it is. I would never want to be like, you just it's exciting. You want to uplift those people, get
Right.
them going. Yeah,
I,
it's
I, I
awesome.
love seeing like when you can tell someone's passionate about what they're doing. That's always like, if even if it's something that I couldn't give a shit about, if I can tell that it's something you really enjoy, like I can have the most hype conversation with you about it just because I can tell that like you're super passionate about it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly why I do the podcast.
Yeah.
It's like I just like to
Right.
listen. I like talking to people that just do shit. It doesn't matter what it is. Like they're just doing
Hmm.
random, interesting things, and then I talk to them about it, and then we have these conversations where we talk about politics, we talk about beer, and then we talk about what they do. Like it's just
Yeah.
whatever it is. But like, yeah, it's exciting to see that in people, and it's not only that, it's like it gives you energy. Like there's this like you
Yeah.
get excited because they're excited and you're like, oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah, let's do it. Yeah, do it. Do it. Like, you know, you're just like pumped about it. And absolutely, I think it's vital, like I said, in anything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
important to be excited about it. And sometimes you got to do shit, but like at the end of the day, hopefully you're doing something because you like it.
Right. Exactly. Right. I think that is interesting with like music today because as we're growing into this social media age and this um, monetized age of art, I guess you could say. I mean, art has
Ooh, I
always
like
been
that.
like that, but people see it now as this avenue of like get rich, basically. And I know there are artists. Man, I wish I could remember fucking names off the top of my head right now. But there are artists that have explicitly said like, "Oh, I don't even care what I'm making as long as it's making me money. Like this is a job." And it's like it opens up this whole new category of people who are like not even really interested in. And I'm like, dude, I can't get behind you because you don't actually get behind you. You know, you're here to just make a quick buck. I don't like, and I can feel that through your art. I can tell that you're not really like super interested. But it's weird as someone who's growing as an artist in that period of time, I guess you could say, because so much of it is outside of just creating art and like making music and that sort of thing. And so much of it is, well, you need to monetize your brand. You need to be as active as possible on social media so that your brand can make money and grow. And like, and I enjoy doing stuff like that. So like for me, it's it's fine. I don't really care because
Right.
I enjoy the idea of like brand building. It's cool. It's fun. But for some people, like that completely sucks the fun of art out of everything. So it's a very weird thing where art is changing right now, especially I think, especially in the electronic music community.
Yeah, and I think I regardless, I do think that stuff is important. That
Yeah,
monetizing your, I mean, obviously if you do like it, you'll realize you kind of got to do some of that just so that you
right,
can eventually grow your brand. I mean, that is where we are now, and I think everyone has the availability to grow on social if they so choose. Might take some
right,
harder work, but yeah. And you can always outsource that if you're doing good enough.
right,
You can get rid of that role if you don't want it. But yeah, I mean I, it is. We are in that stage where, with not just with music, but with anything, there's people that are just like you say, just on like Instagram doing their stuff just because it's I'm getting a lot of likes. Like, I mean,
right,
I know girls that got 100,000 followers, and but they're doing the pictures that get them 100,000 followers. They're not doing the pictures that they want to do, or
right.
they're not
Yeah,
doing the page they want to do, and they're like worried about making that jump because they want the likes, or they want they like the attention they're
right,
getting. And I think that's a huge moment in any artist or individual, in a sense that they'll hit a point where they realize that they're not uh, happy or satisfied with what they've been doing, and they'll pivot, and they might, that's the thing, is that's the other thing, is people are scared to pivot, and then they're also worried about what will happen after they pivot, right? There's that fear of the future.
right.
And it's hard to break through that and do it, but when you
Mhm.
get to it, you might lose some people, but then you got to look at that, and you got to spin it your best way possible and say, well, those people really weren't here for me. They were here,
Right,
for my art.
exactly.
They were just here because of what I was doing. They're not really, they're not true fans. A true fan
Right,
is gonna follow you through thick and thin. Obviously, not through everything. There
sure,
are
yeah.
some limitations,
Right,
but like if you switch up the way you're making music, that shouldn't be a end all for a fan. They might
right,
not like you as much. But like they should respect that you're pivoting and be there to support it.
100%.
That's the way I
Yeah,
view it, at least. So
yeah. And the other thing is, not in the sense that people are replaceable, but if you're worried about losing them as a fan, they're replaceable in the fan sense, you know.
oh, I agree with
So
that. Yeah, yeah.
if you've got, like, let's say you've got 50 people that you're going to lose because you're going to start doing something you like more. Well, maybe there's 100 people that share the thing that you like more. So maybe you'll end up in a better position, you know. And people, like, I think people don't give other people enough credit on how good we are at gauging when someone's full of shit and when someone is actually doing things they like about, or they like doing, rather.
Yeah.
Um, so generally, when people are doing things they really like, even if it's something that's like weird, this niche thing, they'll attract the right people because people understand that they're really serious about their stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's very easy to tell when someone's faking.
I 100% agree. Yeah, absolutely. It's like you could tell when companies just want to make money.
Sure, yeah,
It's like they do some ad, and you're like, all right, cool, you did it.
right. Like I don't know if you've seen the side by side of the Coca-Cola ad from Nazi Germany versus Pride Month, but there's the side by side meme of, like, they're only doing whatever they can to, make as much money from you as possible, and if it's popular in your area, they'll post it and say that it's good.
Oh, I
You
mean,
know,
absolutely, 100%. There's no way around it.
yeah,
And
exactly.
and it's even crazier to me when companies do that on social media, because again, I think it's even more clear when you see companies that are doing that, and it's like they think consumers are dumb now, especially just nowadays. There's so much stuff
Yeah,
coming at us that I feel like nowadays we have a very our generation can kind of like pick out bullshit better than previous
right.
generations. Like I just do. I feel like that's natural. Like
Especially online, like a lot of the stuff you
especially
see,
online. Mm-hmm.
like older people get mad about is like things that people, like, maybe our age would be like, well, yeah, we don't give a shit about that. Like, that's dumb. Like companies posting like Pride Month themed things.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, yay, you did it.
Yeah, you did
Why
it.
did you do
Great.
it? Oh,
You're paying your workers, a starvation wage. So I don't care. I think most people our age are like pretty in tune with that. But like the older generation will be like, well, I don't support like homosexuality, so like I'm not gonna support your company. Well, I promise you, a company doesn't care whether or not you're gonna support them, bro. Like they're gonna make their money regardless. It's not gonna really matter. So cool, I guess. But
yeah.
they don't have that same like online bullshit filter that we do, and so it's funny to see like the disparity between the two.
No, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. There's the old generation that cares a lot, and then there's us that are kind of like, whatever. They're gonna do that. They're gonna do it regardless. It
Yeah,
could
right.
be anything. It could be we support Martians, and they're gonna be like, yeah, we like the aliens now. Like,
Yeah,
it
right.
doesn't
Exactly.
matter what it is.
Exactly.
But speaking of like social media and brands, what is it that if 5 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever it might be, is the plan with the big worm brand? I mean, what is it? What's the goal? What's the growth? What are you itching to get to?
So the main thing right now, I'm moving to Louisville. I'm based out of Houston right now. I'm moving to Louisville sometime over the next 3 months, either August or September. And so first off is going to be getting a good grounding up there. But other than that, man, just continue expanding and continue growing. So definitely during like quarantine and stuff, I wasn't necessarily thinking about quitting, but there were those moments of like, dude, is this ever going to come back to normal? Whatever. Um, I wasn't thinking about quitting in the sense that I wanted the brand to end and I wanted to stop doing music, but I genuinely had a fear about halfway through of like, dude, we're never going to return back to like what EDM was pre-COVID. You know what I mean? Because
Really?
music industries, especially with something that's like an underground movement like electronic music, if you like grunge music in the late '90s, uh, or post grunge music in the early 2000s. I don't know why grunge is at the top of my fucking
No, you're good.
brain right now, but those are both pretty quick, short-lived movements. And so I was like, damn, like I don't want to think that electronic music is going to become uh, that it's going to die out because of fucking COVID. But that was my worry. So um, there was a while there where I was like, dude, is this even like worth it? And then as things started opening back up and everything's coming back, and then these opportunities start coming my way, um, I'm like, man, okay, like we're doing it again. So now I'm back on like just trying to expand and get back out there and because before COVID, I was playing. My goal was always 2 shows in the city, 2 shows out of the city a month. So I would try to travel twice a month, try to play two weekends in
Nice.
Houston a month. And so now it's going to be after I move, it'll be 2 shows in state, 2 shows out of state a month. And I feel like if you do like a incremental growth, it's very helpful because you set small goals for yourself. It's very easy to keep an eye on. Okay, this is exactly how I do that goal. Once I've accomplished it, other things will fall in place. And
Yeah.
so it's just going to continue to be taking things step by step until I am hopefully, on some major festivals one day. you know,
Yeah, we're already playing some festivals, so it's
yeah,
it's good.
yeah,
It's
and I
good. It's
and
moving. Things are moving.
there's the road to Dance Festopia is coming up in July, so hopefully I'll win that and I'll get on Dance Fest. So that would be a huge one. And then there's one more that I can't talk about right now, but towards the end of the year that I haven't signed a contract for it, so I don't want to jinx anything and say anything.
No,
But
yeah,
more
I
than
got you.
likely, I'm playing. um, and so I think going into like 2022, I'll have had 3 pretty decent sized festivals under my belt. um, I've played a couple smaller ones, but nothing really major yet. So I think going into 2022, when I have that experience under my belt, have a little bit larger of a EPK to send out and just be like, hey, this is what it's about. This is what I've been doing the last post-COVID world. And so just taking incremental steps to continue growing and working every day to try to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really all you can do. I feel like one of my favorite quotes of all time, it's always been stuck in my head, is the universe rewards calculated risk. And that's
Yeah,
something, that comes with working hard and then getting yourself prepped to make those jumps and leaps and take those opportunities when they come. But I mean, that's really all you can do is you've got the goal, you've got the vision, and then you've got the steps to take to reach that goal. And then as long as you work hard, I feel like generally speaking, things do fall into place, especially if your heart and your passions and that, and you're doing it again. I think you're doing it for the right reasons, of course. I think
yeah,
that stuff falls right in, and um, yeah. I mean, and I want to backtrack super quick. Is don't knock yourself down by saying no, nothing big yet. I mean, dude, you're playing festivals, whether they're big or small. There are people that wish they were at festivals.
yeah,
There are
for
people
sure.
that are trying to just get into clubs right now.
Right,
And there's no DJ big or small that is better than anyone else. They've all been there. They've all been in that same scenario of trying to get to clubs, trying to get to a small festival, then a bigger festival, then headlining, and then playing at night. I mean, the steps it takes.
right.
But um,
That's something that I have to like remind myself a lot, especially like something that I'm not super public about, but I'll mention on Twitter every now and then or on social media every now and then is like I have bipolar disorder, so like sometimes shit's rough. It comes with that. And so whenever I'm having like a super low, it'll be, a 3 month period where I'm just not feeling good just because that's the way my brain's set up and I know that and it's fine. Like no worries. But throughout that whole period, I have to continually remind myself, okay, um, you feel like shit today, but this is what you've done in the last month alone. And 3 years ago, you would have literally cried to be given any one of those opportunities. So,
mm-hmm.
like, chill out, everything's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like for most people around their mid 20s can mostly do the same thing. Where, okay, if 19-year-old you could look back, or 19-year-old you could look into the future and you could see what you were doing at 24, um, you know, 19-year-old you would burst into tears because they wouldn't think that opportunity was there.
Yeah.
So, like, just be appreciative, be in the moment, enjoy what's coming your way because it's there and you didn't even necessarily know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
I think that what you were just kind of talking about is something every creator has of anything, whether it's what I'm doing with a podcast, with making YouTube videos, or being a DJ, or anyone that's kind of in like any sort of entertainment type thing has that. Like you hit points where you're like, "What the fuck am I doing? Like,
oh,
is this
sure,
is this
sure.
like is this good? Like, am I doing this right?" And it's so vital when fans of you, whether you've got again 100,000 followers or 500. If someone just comments like, "Dude, I like what you're doing," like it's such a boost. And that's something I've been trying to be vocal on. Like, if you like the creator and what they're doing, again, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's a podcast you like, or an artist you like tell them you like what they're doing.
Right.
Like
And
just say
and
it. Like, and don't think about like, oh my god, they're so small, they're never gonna notice, or they're so big, they're never gonna notice. Like, just
right.
say it. They'll probably see it. They might not always answer, but I can guarantee you that that is like something that just propels them and gives them energy and boosts. Like just the
100%.
dude,
Yeah.
like just the other day, I was like, I've been going through like, what the fuck am I? Same type of thing. Like, I've been kind of like, what the hell am I doing? And I was in the process of moving, so I wasn't putting out as much content or video or really anything. So I was like, I'm fucking up. And then
Mm-hmm.
at one of the festivals, one of my friends was like, hey, like, I don't know how it came up, but it came up. And they're like, it's really cool what you're doing. Like, you're doing
Yeah.
great. Like, I like the shows that you do like this. And they were just like telling me what they like and like saying like, you're doing great. And I was like just touched. I was like, that means the world to me right now. Like, I don't think you understand like how much I needed that right now.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just, yeah,
I find that like stuff like that always happens whenever maybe you can relate to this, maybe not, but whenever I feel like I need it most, like there's periods of time where I'm feeling really good about what I'm doing,
mm-hmm.
and compliments and stuff like that are fantastic always, of course. but during those times, I'm never like that alone is gonna like sustain me and keep me going and keep me what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But there are definitely times like about 3 months ago, nothing was lining up, nothing was working, man, like at all. Other than Asteria, I had nothing on my plate for like until I move, and I was like, dude, like I have there's nothing for me to even like be excited about and look forward to except for this one festival. Like, that's great. I'm happy I'm playing the festival, but man, it would be nice if I was doing other stuff too. And then like a week later, I got a bunch more stuff lined up, and I was like, oh, okay, everything's fine. Chill out. But in that time, a couple people were like, hey, this was good. This was good. Even some like this was bad. I didn't like this so much. That's still good feedback. I don't even care if you're going to tell me you love what I'm doing as long as you're giving me feedback on what I'm doing
I do
so that
agree
I
with
can
that.
keep improving. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. And like I said, my friend said like, I actually really like when you do this type of content. Like, and they weren't dissing my other stuff, but they were
For
saying
sure.
like, I think people really like that. They're like, they're like, you're doing something unique that others aren't doing, and I like when you share that. I'm sure others do too. Like, it's like, yeah, perfect. And I agree with like constructive criticism and all that. It's super important as well. I think a good,
Yeah.
I truthfully like, I truly believe this. I think a good friend is someone that is going to tell you when you're doing something wrong.
Oh, 100%.
I think a
100%.
friend
Yeah.
that just stands by and watches you go by with things and doesn't say anything is just not worth your time or energy, really, because like why would you do the same for them?
Right.
But I 100% have been on board with that. I've been with that with all my friends, and some friends don't want to hear it. That
Yeah.
always
Right.
makes a fork in the road too. They don't want to hear your constructive criticism, but when it goes back and forth, like, it's something you can't mess around with,
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing something in a creative process. Like there are not that many people that I would send like a track I'm working on to, or whatever. But the
True.
ones that I would send it to are gonna be fucking honest. They're gonna be like, all right. Like there have been times where I've sent a track and they're like, this is just absolute shit. Like you should just delete the project. Like nothing about this is good. And it's like, all right, well, And the other thing is gauging constructive criticism.
I was about to say
I
that
don't
too.
think I don't think people have a good understanding of that. People that don't know how to take constructive criticism, like if you send a track off to 5 people, and one of them out of the 5 says, "Oh, this is garbage," and then the other 4, they'll tell you it's good and this is what you could work on. Well, you can ignore the one because the 4 outweighs the one. Now, if you send a track off to 5 people, and 4 of them are like, "This is ass," and then one of them is like, "This is good," you should probably do something different. You have
Absolutely.
to really gauge what you're doing. You can't just be like, I'm going to lean in hard, either too positive or too negative. You
Yeah.
have to be really honest with yourself as well.
And I also think it's just as important that when you're somebody giving the constructive criticism, that it isn't in a bad way. Like, in my
Oh,
opinion,
yeah.
like, you can't come at someone and be like, "This is ass. This is shit," because either it's gonna get them down or they're gonna get defensive. It's one of the two, right? At least in my opinion. And that's like, I would tell my friends, if you're gonna help me, that's not how to do it.
Right.
Like, talk me through the situation, make me understand it. That's how
Right.
I learn. And everyone's different. Some people might want
Right.
that. Tell me I'm shit. Like, all right,
For
fucking.
me, 100%, like, if you don't tell me flat out that what I'm doing is like garbage, I will probably not take your criticism seriously, unless it's like, hey, this is what you could be doing better. If you like beat around the bush that like you don't necessarily love it, or that whatever, you don't really like it, I always want to see the best in what people are saying. And so, like, personally, I have to have my friends be like just as blunt and honest as possible. Otherwise,
Oh
I
my
will be like,
gosh.
oh, well, I can tweak a couple things and it'll be fine. And then I'll send it again. I've had tracks like, I've deleted them now. Like, they're very old and they're not on SoundCloud or anything anymore. But when I first sent them to my friends or whatever, they were like, oh, this is like not that great. And it was when I was first producing, like it was definitely not good. Like it was not something that should have been like probably posted online because I was learning. Like there's nothing wrong with
Absolutely,
that,
nothing wrong with that.
100%. But they were very honest and they were like, "Hey, this is probably not great." And I because they weren't blunt enough with me, I was like, "Okay, well, maybe that's just your opinion, and I can change a couple things and make it a little bit better, and then I'll put it out, and then it would get like 5 views or something because." For one, I was just starting out, but for two, it was just not good. And so I was
That's
like, all
funny.
right, well, And so a lot of a creative process and learning constructive criticism, and I'm sure you know this, and other people that are years into creation um, know this, is just learning to be honest with yourself as well, um, and learning kind of where that bar is at of like, okay, this is where I should be at by this point, and yada yada yada, that sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Um, yes and no. I mean, because I think it's important to be aware. I do, but I think there is a point where like everything
Right.
moves at its own pace, and there's never like you shouldn't get caught up in like this person is doing better than I am, and I'm doing or I'm doing better
Oh,
than
100%.
these
Right.
people. But yeah, there has to be some level of awareness. Like you don't want to go. Perfect example is I think
Right.
with like college, like there's so many people that and maybe I know that like they get 4 years, 3.5 years in, they're like, I want to switch my major, or they get, or even 5 years in sometimes, and that's like, whew, like that's a big life decision that could have tremendous consequences, but
Right.
to have that awareness 2 years prior when it didn't matter is not a big deal. You just pivot 2 classes, you're done.
Right. Yeah.
But like it's a big part of it. I think that awareness is huge. Knowing where you stand as well as what might need to be done, what if you need to pivot, if you not need to pivot, constantly reevaluating your situation and yourself, and not in a bad way or a good way, but just like in a growing sense, I guess.
Right. Exactly.
If
Exactly.
that
Just
makes
being
sense.
as honest with yourself as possible.
Exactly. Yes, that's what it comes back down to is the honesty within yourself. I mean, it's so easy to point at this person, point at that person, but at the end of the day, can you point at yourself and fix things that need to be fixed, or
Right. Yeah.
and not even just in work. I mean, with yourself, how you're handling work,
With
relationship,
literally
whatever, literally
anything.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes down to anything. Agreed. Um, I'm gonna end it on that note, dude. That was like I don't want to like I don't want to end it on
Yeah.
anything else besides that because I think we just ended on something that was golden and gave everybody a little bit of advice. Tell us where people can find you. Tell them, Big Worm on Spotify. Check you out there. What social medias? Give us
Yeah.
the rundown.
Big Worm on Spotify, Big Worm on SoundCloud, Big Worm on Apple Music, Instagram and Twitter, both Big Worm Music. Facebook I don't use at all, but it's Big Worm
Who
Dub
does?
if you want to hop on there.
Who does? No, you gotta use Facebook either. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. I love the conversation we've had. We've touched a little bit of little bit of everything. I hope later on down the road you'll be welcome to come back on again for a revisit. A little bit down.
Dude, I would love to. Yeah.
And good luck playing at oh my God, I just lost it. Estero.
Asteria?
Goodness gracious. I don't know why I was thinking Aspire. Yeah, Asteria. Good luck playing at that coming up in the next 2 weeks. I know you're going to kill your set. Hopefully I can.
Yeah.
If you get anybody getting videos or anything, let me know. I'll throw them up and
100%.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So good shit, man. Well, love talking to you. Like I said, I wish you the best. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah,
okay?
It was a great time. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.